I think when you choose to use Bollywood as an example, I'd say anybody you pay money there will do anything as long as it's meant for a particular role. Why are we looking for that? I want hard examples here. I don't blame the Muslim community leaders or the founders of Pakistan for what they did. I blame the Hindus for not doing enough and for not standing by their culture. That is the essence of the first book and the second book. That we are the ones buried under these degrees of coloniality, where we find it so difficult to unabashedly represent our own position, stand by our own culture. That's the problem.
But you're still not ready to accept it when it comes to Mohammad Rafi singing bhajans and all that, you're saying? You won't see him as a...
I think when you choose to use Bollywood as an example, I'd say anybody you pay money there will do anything as long as it's meant for a particular role. I don't wish to see a professional performance which is meant for a particular payment or which is done at the expense of a particular consideration as any sign of, let's say, syncretic behavior. Why are we looking for that? I want hard examples here. Why are we looking for hard examples in a make-believe world? I'd like that in the real world, where it truly matters. Okay, let's do something. There's a fantastic discussion or a debate that happens on the Earth Litmus platform in 2019 with Mr. Owaisi, Mr. Subramanian Swamy, Dr. Subramanian Swamy and myself, and I was supposed to be the moderator there. Please look,
saw that.
Right?
It's on YouTube. Yeah.
Right. I'm not referring to any parts which are constantly churned around in WhatsApp. I'm not on that at all. I think it's done to death. When he was asked the question of what is the position of the rest of the Indian Muslims with respect to Kashmir and Bharat's relationship, see how wishy-washy he gets. So that means an elected member of the parliament who's been voted to Bharat's parliamentary body, its legislative body, still doesn't wish to commit to the cultural relationship and the civilizational relationship between Kashmir and Bharat. He says that's a complicated issue. I asked him about CAA. He doesn't want to acknowledge the fact that in Islamic republics, Hindus get a rough deal, at least in this neighborhood. He doesn't want to address that. I asked him if a specific legislation or an amendment comes out identifying a particular cause, why don't you accept that this cause has a direct relationship with the identity of the country? Because then he would end up having to admit that Islamic republics give out a rough deal and a short end of the stick to Hindus, at the very least in our neighborhood. He doesn't want to accept that. That is with respect to Pakistan and Bangladesh. He says that I've gone to Pakistan, I've spoken out against the terror activities of Pakistan. Then why don't you acknowledge that it's the Pakistani state, which is the Islamic state, which is actually meting out this kind of treatment to Hindus? Why doesn't he speak out against that? He has all the time in the world to establish kinship with Rohingyas. He has all the time in the world to establish kinship with Muslims across the world, including Palestinians, but not for Hindus in Pakistan and Bangladesh. But that reciprocal sentiment is expected from Hindu leaders.
But that's not spoken. No, forget Owaisi or forget Muslim leaders.
Right.
It's not something that even Hindu leaders in India pick up.
100%.
So we expect Muslim leaders to speak. Why should they? They're saying like Pakistan hamara thodi na hai. Hum kyun bole? Why not the Hindu leaders then?
You know what? I couldn't have made the argument better. I have always said this. I don't blame the Muslim community leaders or the founders of Pakistan for what they did, because they did what according to them was divinely ordained or scripturally ordained. I blame the Hindus for not doing enough and for not standing by their culture. That is the essence of the first book and the second book. That we are the ones buried under these degrees of coloniality, where we find it so difficult to unabashedly represent our own position, stand by our own culture. That's the problem. Okay, I have a question. Why is it that the Communist Party always chooses to field leaders who either come from the so-called Savarna community and who are also from the Hindu background? Why don't we get to see people coming from the depressed classes of the society becoming heads of the Marxist party, or even people coming from the Muslim background? Because it's the weaponization of the Hindu identity through the Marxist route. Because you get to say the exact argument you presented. Well, it's not the Muslim saying this. It's a person coming from the Hindu background who's making this statement. Immediately you become defenseless. That's how the legitimacy of the state of Israel is undermined by using the American Jewish identity as a weapon against the Israeli Jewish identity. Because it's not the Muslim who's saying this. It's your own guy who's saying this. That's it. Then what do you do? The wind is taken out of your sails, no? That's exactly what happens. So my point is, I find it useless to say that there is a problem with someone else. I say the problem lies with him. And the problem lies within, wherein we haven't produced enough committed, intransigent hardliners who stick to the position of their culture as much as they are supposed to. And each time the Hindu society manages to produce them, they are in the minority and they're isolated. That's exactly the fight between the moderates and the extremists in the Congress of that particular period. The Naramdal and the Garamdal, that's the distinction.